Welcome to Politics Unplugged. I'm Ann Trujillo. We are getting used to Governor Hickenlooper ducking questions about whether he will or will not run for president. This week he formed a political action committee to raise money for the 2020 election, but still wouldn't say for sure whether he was running.
It just means I'm exploring it, which I've been doing for the last several months anyway.
Exploring. All right, Hickenlooper says some of his PAC money will be used to support governors in other states. But ABC political director Rick Klein says the Colorado governor's ability to win in a purple state could ultimately help him.
I would say he's on the long version of the short list, and it might be a pretty long list. We talk about 15 or 20 potential candidates. But when people talk about governors with a record, governors in purple states like Colorado, those are things that move you to the top of the resume stack.
Well, joining us to talk about Governor Hickenlooper's future are Paul Teske, the Dean of the School of Public Affairs at the University of Colorado, Denver, and Nick Garcia, political reporter for the Denver Post. So, gentlemen, thank you so much for being here. So, does Governor Hickenlooper have a chance of becoming president?
Well, I think he's, he's one of the people who has a chance. We're 2 years out, and there's a big list. I've seen lists of 10 that he's not on. I've seen lists of 20 that he is on. So he's, I think as your segment said, he's in the picture. There's no front runner, I'd say, in the Democratic Party at this point, in a way that, clearly Hillary Clinton, really the last several cycles has been that, or Barack Obama. So he's got a chance.
Yeah, I think after the election of Donald Trump, anyone can be president, right, including a reality TV star and businessman. I think the question Hickenlooper is going to have to answer, and more accurately, the Democrats are going to have to answer, is do they want someone who is centrist? Do they want someone who is moderate not only in temperament, but also in his policies? Or do they want to move further to the left, like we are seeing in some particular political races this year?
Well, he started this PAC. So what does that mean?
Well, what it means is that he is trying to build a bigger and bolder national profile. He's also looking at building a coalition and allies of other elected officials who can return favors. So right now he is spending time stumping for candidates in Florida and Georgia. And if those folks get elected, he's going to have goodwill with them to turn around if he does decide to launch a presidential run, to go back and say, hey, look, I helped you guys out. Would you endorse me? And that's going to help build a bigger and more national brand for Hickenlooper.
So he has had relative success here in Colorado, and a lot of people, he's been getting feedback, a lot of people saying they like what they see happening in Colorado. Does that translate to the national level?
Well, I think that's what he wants to find out with exploring. I think he's already visited quietly to New Hampshire and Iowa, and you do more of that. You try your message in other states, and I think his message is that Colorado works because people collaborate, and he's as governor at the center of that. He's not the only person obviously involved with that, and that's a good message. And in a time of kind of divisiveness and lack of collaboration, it will probably sell to some voters. I think it's as Nick said, it's within the Democratic Party. There's always this more centrist and left sides battling a little bit about whose message is going to get through, and he's definitely more in that centrist group, and that'll play with some voters, but maybe not with others. And I think, a governor of a small state, I was thinking historically, Bill Clinton in '92 comes out of Arkansas, going back further, Jimmy Carter. And in both cases, I think it was the right time for that kind of person. After Watergate, with Carter being a very, nice guy and, having very clear ethics. And Clinton, after maybe 12 years of older Republicans, Reagan and George H.W. Bush is a younger baby boom, figure. So it could be that, Hickenlooper looks a little bit like the AntiTrump that some Democrats will be looking for.
And the Democratic Party, where do you think that is headed? You use that word centrist a lot, but who knows, right?
We're going to know more in a month, right? After almost 2 months when the election's over. I think at that point in time, a lot of folks, both in the Republican Party and the Democratic Party, are going to be able to do, another round of investigations to better understand where the electorate is. If you see people who are out there stumping for more progressive policies, right, that might signal to people like, Senator Kamala Harris and Elizabeth Warren that it's their time. If you see, a more even flow of or more mix of candidates, I think that's going to send signals to folks that maybe there is a more viable path for someone like Governor Hickenlooper to the nomination.
The governor has said that he needs to talk to about 16 people. Any clue who that might be, what that means exactly?
Well, I'm sure he's already talked to some of them.
At least, right?
Some of them are no doubt, potentially fundraisers. Some of them are his family and his own, folks that he's been working with. I mean, I've heard from some of them, when he started running for mayor in 2003, he was polling at 3%, right? He likes to tell the story. And so, that message of, you may not look like a favorite at the beginning of this race, but that can change pretty quickly is one that he'll probably want to talk about.
Speaking of his run for mayor, there is this belief in the political world now that whoever the next president is, they're going to have to be a TV star. They're going to have to know how to work the media. And Governor Hickenlooper got elected because of those commercials. And I wouldn't be surprised if that is one of his selling points, and he knows how to do effective campaigning, effective TV commercials to get noticed.
But his was more of a folksy kind of a style rather than TV star. Well, really, you think that?
I mean, it's not so much that he has to be, has been on a reality TV show, but he has to know how to work the media. He has to know what plays well on the tube. And I think you can look at those commercials and, he might have done a small ad buy and then they just got replayed and replayed and replayed. So he knows how to get on TV.
Do you think Kasich will be the running mate? What do you think the ticket might be if, in fact, he runs?
I think the fusion ticket's a long shot. I mean, third-party kinds of get-togethers like that don't tend to work very well, especially in the early phases. I think he needs to stay in the Democratic Party.
So who would be the ideal candidate for him? I mean, maybe not necessarily a name, but the type of person.
Yeah, and maybe somebody more with credentials on the left, so that that kind of fills both sides.
Absolutely, female, person of color.
Yeah, and honestly, as this evolves, and he was kind of in the picture in 2016. It could position him to be vice president himself, or a cabinet secretary down the road. And I think a lot of people think if this doesn't work in terms of the presidential race, that the Senate race against Cory Gardner in 2020 is another possibility if he wants to stay in the arena.
Absolutely be watching. Paul Teske, Nick Garcia, thank you, gentlemen, both, for your insight today. Appreciate it. And we will be right back.